Hello everybody, thought I'd give my quick thoughts on the anniversary live stream. It was pretty solid. To be honest, I really wished I could have gotten some fake collab stuff a little earlier. However, I understand why not, and I'll get into that in a little bit. However, let's get the main stuff out of the way. We are getting a golden token. This is pretty obvious. We basically get it every anniversary. And new additions to the shop being HuoHuo and Robin. Now, I kind of want to go over a little thing here that kind of bothers me, where like now people are saying, oh, Robin's out of meta, HuoHuo Nova is kind of mid, so I'm going to keep saving these golden tokens. I feel like this type of mindset is kind of useless when it comes to the shop, right? The reason I say this is, well, when we first got the golden token shop back in like the last anniversary in 3.2, everybody was saying stuff like, I'm going to be saving these golden tokens for Robin, because even though Robin wasn't as meta anymore at the beginning of version 3, she was still pretty meta for late V2 teams, and as well, there was no Cyrene, so characters like Anoxa and Phanon could actually still use her pretty well, right? So you could get some pretty good usage out of Robin back then, still incredibly meta top tier, and people are like, oh, I'm just going to wait until she gets added to the golden token shop. However, now that we are at the beginning of a new version, V3 got their fully fleshed out teams, Robin doesn't really have a place in them, people are now saying that Robin is washed, Robin isn't worth using my golden token on, and I'm going to save my golden token until someone much better comes around like Sunday or Tribby. However, the thing is, by the time Sunday or Tribby get added to this golden token shop, in all likelihood, we are probably going to be in like version 5, and now you're going to be in the same issue where, oh, Sunday is washed, Robin is washed, or Tribby is washed. Even with E1, she's significantly worse than some other supports. So this is kind of my issue with this mentality a lot of people have around saving their golden tokens for that shop for specific meta characters. By the time those meta characters actually get added to the shop, chances are they just won't be as meta anymore, right? And you're going to constantly shift the goalpost. Now, in my opinion, the most valuable character is, of course, HuoHuo, right? Ruan Mei is definitely up there, especially because of the weakness break efficiency increase. If you guys don't know, Firefly got massively buffed super break multipliers in her recent what's it called, Nova Flare. So when it comes to getting buffed by super break, it's honestly a little too much for Firefly. She's getting super break buffs from herself and her own multipliers. She's getting super break buffs from Dahlia. She can also get super break buffs from HMC. And something you'll realize is you're kind of stacking super break on top of super break, which does increase your damage, but at some point the value of it kind of gets lost a little bit. So something you can actually do is just not pull Fugue. If you do not have Fugue for a Firefly, you can genuinely just use your golden tokens on Mei and E1 Mei, and I promise you, it'll be closer than you think, right? I promise you, it'll be closer than you think. Now, I will say, if you have an E2 Firefly, Fugue definitely has more value because she has Exo Toughness, and Exo Toughness makes it so that Firefly is able to trigger her E2 significantly more often. However, if you don't have E2 Firefly, then Ruan Mei is genuinely a pretty fine replacement for Fugue, and I'd imagine an E1 Ruan Mei is actually competitive against Fugue. So Ruan Mei definitely still has value, especially with this Firefly Nova Flare. However, not only this, next we have HuoHuo, right? Now listen, I'm someone who's been pretty disappointed in her Nova Flare because I really wanted them to fix her sustain issues above all else, and unfortunately they didn't. They did buff her sustainability, despite what a lot of people are trying to say. The problem is that they can't deal with specific scenarios where enemies act consecutively and quickly with some hard-hitting hits, right? This is the problem with HuoHuo. You need to take a turn on her or a turn on your other characters to be able to get healed. When you look at Hyacine, what makes her such a good sustain is the fact that you and your characters get heal back every time they are attacked. And if an enemy, for some reason, does very low amounts of damage, you can actually heal back more from being attacked in comparison to what you lost, right? This is what makes Hyacine such a good sustain. Even outside of character turns and her own turns, she can still heal passively from allies getting attacked. Unfortunately, this does not apply to HuoHuo. So if you aren't on a HuoHuo turn, or you aren't on a character's turn, and enemies are about to act like 2 or 3 times consecutively with pretty strong hitting hits, there is a decent chance that one of your characters could just get fully knocked out without you being able to do anything, even if they were at max HP legit 2 turns ago, which is just unfortunate. So I understand why they didn't buff HuoHuo too much. I'm assuming they really want to sell that elation sustain down the line whenever they release. My opinion, it's probably going to be Nihilux, and they don't want to make a generalist option comparable to a niche option, because then people are just going to keep using HuoHuo instead, right? But truthfully, I don't even think it was all that worth Nova flaring HuoHuo if you were going to make it this underwhelming, in all honesty, right? Feel free to disagree, but that's just my opinion. It's just a bit of a waste of a Nova Flare, right? But nonetheless, HuoHuo is still the second most valuable character, if not the first, depending on the person you are, on that golden token shop. Because the thing is, people don't like pulling sustains, right? I've already talked about this and why I glaze Dan Heng PT a lot. Of course, Dan Heng PT also has godly early verticals, really, really good. However, that's not the only reason I praise it. A big reason why I praise free Dan Heng PT is because he is a free generalist sustain, and 99% of this game's player base absolutely fucking hates having to pull premium sustains. So with recently Dan Heng PT being free, and now you being able to get a Nova HuoHuo on the golden token shop, this is 2 premium limited sustains who, even if they aren't at the absolute top of the meta, are definitely competing with it, right? They're scratching the surface of it, meaning they are definitely good enough for clearing the main endgame modes outside of Anomaly Arbitration, which for now only require 2 teams, which you have 2 sustains for. So if you were a recently new player who started in like 3.6 to 4.0, you will have gotten 2 free premium sustains, and some of the best ones in the entirety of the game, for absolutely free without needing to pull them. And you can now focus on getting your DPS, getting their Lycone, their Eidolons, or their best in slot supports without worrying about that 4 slot. And then if you have a Phanon team with Cyrene, then you actually can tackle AA, because you can have the 2 sustains on, you know, a few teams, and then you can run sustainless Phanon, who is infinitely in his ultimate with Cyrene, and you'll be able to clear all 3, right? So in my opinion, this is just amazing that they're adding free sustains and more free sustains, because that's what most people don't want to pull for, and it's always nice to have that as an option. So absolutely love that. We're getting the normal like 120 plus pulls that we get every anniversary. This is usually what HSR does. Their biggest patches are always around like 120 to nearly 130 pulls, right? Usually in that margin. New planets, Cyrene's patch, anniversaries, they all have that, right? So really good amount of pulls. They also added some QOL. Low-key, I slept on it, and I played with my boys yesterday, so I don't specifically remember what it was. But they did add some QOL that I liked. Oh yeah, relic loadouts. Yeah, relic loadouts. Now, for the majority in HSR, this doesn't really matter, because a lot of characters have different sets and, you know, different stats that they want, so you won't share them that much. However, specifically when it comes to relic sets like Sacrados, and as well as the Eagle set for certain characters trying to build enough speed, you could definitely make relic sets of that and switch them among characters, right? So I'm actually completely fine with that. So yeah, some pretty cool QOL, some good pulls, additions to the golden token shop. There was a Mappa and HuoHuo like collaboration snippet. I don't know if this is going to lead to a movie or an anime. Would be pretty cool if it does. We got like an Elio reveal, right? Looks absolutely fucking banger. And yeah, no fake collab. Once again, no fake collab. However, fake collab is probably going to be announced at the end of the anniversaries concert, because for those who don't know, when fake collab first got teased for HSR, it was last year on May 2nd, right? On May 2nd, that is when it got teased at the end of an anniversary concert. There is a new this year anniversary concert on May 3rd. So in all likelihood, my guess is they're probably going to repeat exactly what they did last year with the last fake collab, which is they will tease Rin and Gilgamesh at the end of this year's anniversary concert, which is about like 3 weeks away, right? So we should be 3 weeks away from the tease for it. Now, some people have brought up a few things which I also find a little weird. If they are leaving them for the end of the anniversary concert when that releases, then if what the current thought process of the leakers is true, which is that they're releasing in 3.3, they will probably be leaked through 3.3 beta before they actually get teased officially, right? Which is a little sus, because keep in mind, last year the reason they were able to get away with this was because they were actually in 3.4 and not in 3.3, but this year they're going to be in 4.3. So it's happening earlier in comparison to 4.4 if you were to take the leakers seriously. So if the leakers are still holding on to the fact that Rin and Gilgamesh are releasing in 4.3, then it is likely that we are going to get their beta before they're even trip marketed or teased. However, what I find a decently likely option to counter this is that they just move them to Himiko's patch, and then we'd end up having it the exact same way that we used to. The reason I don't find this too outlandish is because literally no other character is leaked on Himiko's patch currently, so there are available slots to put in fake collab banners or another character in there. And I understand 3.3 should, or 4.3 is a solo patch leaked with Blade as well. However, if they're gonna take a hit on a patch, it just makes more sense to take a hit on 4.3 with Blade than it does the second main push with Himiko, right? But of course, we'll end up seeing how that goes. Keep in mind, I do not think that the fake collab is not going to happen. A lot of people are getting sad because it wasn't on the live stream. I just don't think it's going to happen on the live stream, although I was hoping for it. Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Let me know what you guys think about the anniversary. I think it was pretty within expectations in comparison to the last Annie. They're basically the same in all honesty. However, I'm more hyped for Gilgamesh currently, so that's what I'm mainly waiting for. Have a good day. Have a good night. Peace out.